Today I'm talking with Sejal Teli, mentor at Mentors for Women and a delivery director at CGI, who leads critical national infrastructure programs for the UK government. Sejal started in software engineering in the early 1990s, one of the three women in a class of 70. She thought she would spend her career writing code. Instead, she found she was more interested in the people around the code and moved into business analysis, where she spent years translating between engineers, users, and the leaders making the decisions. Over the past 3 decades, she has led complex programs at the National Crime Agency, the Home Office, DWP, and the Cabinet Office, and now leads delivery critical services at HMRC. For most of that career, she was the only woman, the only person of color, and an introvert in rooms that did not always reward any of those things. Sejal believes good work alone does not get you noticed. You have to be willing to be seen. That conviction shapes how she leads her teams, how she mentors, and how she keeps showing up in rooms where she once felt she did not belong. If you are seeking a mentor, reach out to Mentors for Women to explore working with Sejal or another vetted mentor from our global community. You'll be matched with the right mentor for leadership, career, life transition, creativity, or business growth. Sejal, you started out in software engineering in the early 90s, one of three women in a class of 70. What sparked your interest in software engineering, especially at a time when it wasn't a typical path for many women?
Yes, thank you, Vipi. I was brought up in a very traditional Asian household where it was expected that I would follow the more traditional professions like, medicine, dentistry, accountancy, law, those sorts of professions. When I said that I wanted to do software engineering, it was quite unusual for my parents, but I really enjoyed being in the software engineering degree. I was quite good at problem solving, and that was a really good career choice for me at the time. I didn't actually realise how unusual it was until I went into university and noticed that actually I was one of very few women in the room there. I don't think it bothered me so much back then, but I think when I started going into my career, it became much more apparent to me that I was always one of very few women in meeting rooms. I think that it didn't actually hit me until a lot later how male dominated the whole industry really is. But I really enjoyed my time at university and it was definitely the right career choice for me.
Well, I love that you knew what you were drawn to and what you were naturally good at. And sounds like your parents also were supporting of that. They were not saying that, well, that's unusual for a young girl or young woman to do. I loved that you followed what you are good at. You were already talented and went to hone your skills. You moved fairly quickly from writing code into business analysis. What made you realize you were more interested in the people side of technology than the technical side?
After my software engineering degree, I naturally thought that I would become a programmer because that's what software developers were called back then. When I went into my first job in the graduate scheme and I had that opportunity to move around different departments, I really enjoyed business analysis. I just enjoyed talking to people and understanding the business problems. One of the things I was really good at was documenting, but the thing that I really loved about business analysis was being able to sort of take complex business concepts and really simplifying it into a single picture or a simple process. And for me, that was really interesting, was being able to take lots of different complex things and then making it really easy. I spent most of my career in business analysis. That's what I really loved doing.
You have spent much of your career as the only woman the only person of color and someone who is naturally introverted. You have said you used to believe good work would speak for itself. What changed that?
Yes, for many, many years of my career, my younger years of my career, I really thought that putting your head down and working really hard is the thing that gets you promoted, gets you through. That's what managers are looking for. It wasn't until I would say much, much later that I realized that, yeah, good work is important. That's clearly one of the things that helps you succeed in your career. But what's much more important is about making sure that you're shouting about the things that you're doing well, making sure that your managers really know the good things that you do. Because if you don't shout about it, no one else is. And I think it's really important to be your own PR agent. Make sure that you are visible in the right spaces. And I find a really good thing to do through the year is to actually keep a log of the good things that you've done. So when it comes to those times where you do your performance review, you've actually got things that you can pull out the bag and say, I did all these things. So it's not just about quietly chipping away at work. It's really about making sure that you're seen. I would also say that it's also, again, something I didn't appreciate so much when I was younger was networking is really important, making sure that you're speaking to people outside of your day job, making sure you're building good relationships. It's those good relationships that help you sort of get the next level in your career ladder.
Your mom has been a huge inspiration to you, particularly around discipline and working through difficulty. Tell us about her and what you carry from her into how you lead now.
Yes, my mum has been a huge inspiration. But again, it was something I didn't actually appreciate again when I was younger. From East Africa, when both my brother and I were quite young children, they worked very hard. And like typical Asian families, they had a corner shop where they worked from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. They worked incredibly hard. And they wanted for us to become educated so that we wouldn't have to work so hard. But what I realized that work ethic that I had watched was something that was just ingrained in me, that working hard and that discipline. Um, that's something that I've really got from my mum. But something else that I've learned as well is that life throws challenges. My mum was one of those people that would show me that actually when life throws those curveballs, it's how you manage the curveballs and just working through problems. So yeah, I think I've learned lots from my mum that I can actually carry through in what I do today.
I have watched workplace culture shift across 30 years, particularly around motherhood and flexibility. What was it like navigating motherhood and career progression earlier in your career before flexible working became more accepted?
Flexible working wasn't quite so accepted back when my children were younger. I was working part time so that I was working school hours so that I could work around them. It wasn't particularly fashionable or cool to be saying that you're going to do the school run. And what I found was that even though I was working prorated days of around school children, that I found myself still logging on after work, after my children had gone to sleep. Um, it felt like I had to overcompensate, overprove myself for having the right to be working from home. Although I felt really fortunate that I was able to work from home, I felt like I just had to keep almost overproving myself. I think it's great that since COVID, hybrid working is much more of a thing, and it's okay when people say that they need to pick their children up from school. It feels like it's much more about trust, and I think it's shaped me as a leader. I'm much more accepting that women can have good careers and balance motherhood well. We just have to trust people.
The team leader and also your experience over 30 years, do you see more fathers actually showing fatherhood so that in families, it's not only mothers who need to balance the motherhood, but it's also the fathers using the opportunities to balance their fatherhood, their parenthood when they have children in the family?
Absolutely. It's becoming much more balanced now. It's great to see that actually more and more fathers are getting involved in children's development. It's not just mothers that are expected to do that.
Very delighted to hear that from an expert like you in leading teams in software development industry. Sejal, when you mentor people who feel they don't naturally fit the room, what do you find yourself coming back to again and again?
I think, again, used to believe that you had to be quite a loud, extroverted person to be a leader. You needed to have that big personality. But what I've realized that actually an introvert can bring different skills to the table, and you being quite unique and different actually makes you stand out. I find that myself that I'm quite a good listener, that I bring that calmness to the team and being able to listen to what my team is saying. I think that those are the things that are important. I would say that it's just important just to be yourself and be authentic to who you are.
What is the one thing you would want a woman watching this to take away from your story?
I would say trust yourself, listen to your instincts, and don't underestimate your value. I think everybody's got value to bring. I would say definitely trust your instincts. I think for many years, I felt like that if somebody was more senior than me, that I shouldn't challenge and I shouldn't necessarily speak up. But I always say now, speak up, say what you're actually thinking, and everybody's got something to bring to the table. So absolutely trust yourself.
Thank you so much, Sejal, for this conversation.
Okay.